Okay, so we have been learning about a lot of the Apex things. Like we know that Apex is the middleware to connect the content piece of it and the model. So it's like a piece of pattern, and it is connecting the model and the it acts like the Apex acts like a controller which connects the model and the view. Okay, so this is what we were talking about, the model view controller. Okay, and the one thing that I need to teach you is like the integrations. Those are the latest concepts about the Apex integrations which I'll be taking. Okay, no worries, I'll be taking
Okay.
integrations. So now today we'll be talking about the Visual Force. Okay, the next concept is the Visual Force pages.
Okay.
So what is the Visual Force page? So the Visual Force pages is nothing but it's a web development language. Like it's a framework, web development framework that enables the developers to build the user interface.
Okay.
The user interface is nothing but what you see it in the screen. They call it as UI. For example, when you go here, when you log into the login.salesforce.com and then go here, and then whatever you see here, right? So you can switch back between the classic and the lightning. You can switch back between the classic and the lightning. So whatever you see it in the front end, it's called the user interface. This is called the Visual Force page. Okay, so like for example, if you just switch to the Salesforce classic, basically the Visual Force pages are primarily used in the Salesforce. Like all the UI that you see here, these are all the, because we need to present something to the user, right? Like we know, for example, when you go to the setup, whatever you see it here, or even you can go to the even the sales app, whatever you see it here, this is all the Visual Force pages. Like for example, accounts, you are bringing something and you are presenting the recent accounts, reports, and all these things. Who is developing this UI, the user interface, which is interacting with the user? That's called the user interface. That pages are called the Visual Force pages. The middleware is called the Apex, which connects the database. So now we know, write the Apex class, which brings the data from the data model. We know how to write the query and how to execute through the Apex. And then the next one is how to print it on the screen. This is called the Visual Force page. Okay, are you guys with me? What is the Visual Force?
Yes, Karthik.
Yeah, so you can use the Visual Force to build apps that align with the styling of Lightning experience, or whatever the Visual Force that you're building, you can even just align with the Lightning experience. For example, this is the Visual Force, right? But in the Lightning, if you see, when you switch to the Lightning, this is the Lightning component. Again, this is also a user interface. Okay, we'll be using the Lightning component here, and primarily the classic uses the Visual Force pages. Okay, where you guys able to follow me the difference between the Visual Force page and the Lightning component? Where the Lightning component is the component based, so we'll be talking about the Lightning. But before that, the Visual Force page is purely the UI based, which is the MEC design pattern. Okay, like even you can even write your own customizations. The Visual Force enables the developer even to customize something. Like for example, in the home page, I want to customize something. I want to put my own report here, own chart here. You can do it. You can customize it. Okay, we'll be talking about how to develop the Visual Force pages and all that. Okay, you can even, you're saying that okay, let's look at the accounts object. When you look at the accounts object, this is how it looks like. You want to just present this in a different way, or you want to put this in here, you want to display something else over here, you can customize it. Those are all the customizations of the using the Visual Force pages. For example, these are all the accounts that we discussed, right? For example, when you click on the United Oil and Gas Corporations, here we have it, right? You can even change or customize the page layout. This is the page layout of the account object, right? You can even change how your page should look like. You can even update the layout. You can define your own layout. Okay, that is what the customization comes in. That's what the primary responsibility of the developer, to write your own code to customize your layout, because whatever you're presenting to the Salesforce users. Okay. Like this is basically mainly it's called like it's a web development. Like you can even put like any HTML code in it, or you can use your own styling. If you see here, like this is all like green color button. This has like some image here, and this has like HTML code of like what is how to put it in the left alignment or how to do in the right alignment and all those things. Everything is the web development. It's a combination of HTML and the styling and CSS, which is the CSS like cascading style sheet. That's what we use for the style sheet, right? So basically, the web development with UI comes with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, and everything combined together. It's called the UI development. It's otherwise called as the presentation layer. How do we present the data?
So at a glance, we can see the whole layout, what's going on and on with this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you can even define your own layout, or like whatever the layout is there. You want to plug in your own component into the layout. You can do all these things. Basically, it's a presentation layer.
Yes, yes, I
Which is the
understood.
visually whatever the visually appealing to you.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
got it. Yep.
So basically, it's integrated with all the standard web technologies like JavaScript framework, and where you can create more intuitive and rich interfaces. Okay, you can make your page more intuitive. Okay, like even when you see like each Salesforce Visualforce pages can be accessed with unique URLs. You can even provide the unique URL to access the the Visualforce pages. We'll be talking about in detail. Okay, when someone accesses the page, what does it happen? Like for example, when someone accesses the page, what does it happen? Basically, when somebody is accessing the page through the browser, right? Somebody is accessing through the browser. Then what is happening at the time? Like probably if you can see, I have screen grab here. Give me 1 second. See here, like whenever the client is requesting, okay, with the URL, it goes to the Visualforce. Visualforce is the one which is presenting the data. So when I'm typing this URL in the browser, this is entire thing is Visualforce, right? The entire thing is Visualforce. So the Visualforce is the one which is connecting to the Apex, which is the application logic where it's a controller, where it is written. And then this one, we know that it's connecting to the database, or it can even connect to the web service call. The web service call is the one which I'm talking about, the integration that we still need to talk about. I'll give you some hands-on and I will demo you some calling the external web service and then bringing in the data. Basically, what is the source of truth, where the data is coming? Either the data can come from the database or the data can come from the external services. We can use the third-party services to consume the data. So those logic is written in the Apex. Now we know what is Apex. How are we going to present the data to the users? That is called the Visualforce that we are going to talk about. Is it clear? The whole flow. What if somebody is asking like, what is Visualforce? We're able to differentiate what is Visualforce and what is Apex.
Yes.
Apex is a controller. It's a programming language which is Java based, hosted, database connected, and all those things. We extensively discussed everything about the Apex class, Apex batch, Apex triggers, unit testing, all those things you are clear. What is Visualforce? It's just the pure UI presentation of the data. That is why I'm showing this diagram of client coming, and they will be seeing only this. And then where the data is coming from, this will talk to the application layer. We will be developing some Visualforce pages connecting to your own Apex language, Apex class, and your Apex class can bring the data from the database, or it can even call from the external service. We'll be doing all those things. So you can be familiar with what is Visualforce and everything. Okay. All right. Say for example, let's go to the action. Like we know that this is the I log into the Salesforce. Okay, very all clear about what is Visualforce page. Jatin.
Yes, Karthik, I'm clear.
Yes, Karthik.
Okay, cool. So when you go here to the developer console, Okay. I can even just copy paste the code to the notes here. I still need to send you guys like 3 or 4 recordings. I'll do it before I go to bed. Every day I'm thinking and I'm forgetting. All right. So when we're talking about the developer console, here's the developer console, right? We already discussed about, like, if you think about, okay, let me close all these guys. Okay, when you're talking about file, new, we know how to, what is Apex class, Apex triggers. Now we'll be talking about the Visual Force page. Then we'll be talking about the Visual Force component and all these things. Then we'll progress towards the lightning. Okay. Okay. Now we are talking about Visual Force page. Let's say, like, let's make a small example of how the Visual Force page can be created. Like, let's take an example how the Visual Force page can be created. Okay. I can even go and create, like, simple Visual Force page, like, sample VF page. So when you're talking about the Visual Force page, always your Visual Force page will start with the skeleton of Apex page. This is what it knows, that whenever we say Apex : page, it's called the Visual Force page. Okay. And then you can use in the Apex page itself, you can tell that what controller it needs to use in case if you're going to communicate with your controller. Like, for example, you can, controller is, what is the controller? Guys, what is the controller? The controller is nothing but your Apex class, right?
Apex class.
There are
Yes.
like two kinds of controllers. One is the standard controllers, and the other one is the custom controllers, because we create a standard objects and we also create a custom objects, right? So in case if they're going to use like say for example, we want to create a page layout for the contact object. We want to use this for the contact object. So in that case, what controllers you'll be using? You'll be using the standard controller, which is available out of box. Every single object will have its own controller. Like, whenever we are going and saying into the admin UI, whatever the object you see it, right? For example, you go here to the setup, object manager. So whatever you see, the standard, what a standard object and custom object now. Every single thing will have its own controller, because that is where we'll connect a bridge between your database model, your model database, and your front end, right? So for all the standard, it is available already. It's pre-built. All the standard object already has the controller. You don't have to write anything. Only for the custom objects, you will have to, if you're developing a custom controller, you will have to modify a few things. Okay, let me give you an example of, like, just creating a page. Today we'll be just talking about the standard controller, because this page needs to talk to somebody, right? To bring the data. That is what it needs to go into talk to. It's going to talk to the controller. What controller is that? Let's say, like, it's a standard controller. You can even use the style sheet. Okay, we'll talk about it later, like the standard controller. And then you can say, like, what standard controller it's going to talk, or it's going to bring the data. For example, let's bring, it's like a contact. Okay, so and then the next one, if you see, it's going to be the Apex page, right? After the Apex page, everything starts with the Apex form. You have to have a form, right? Apex : form. So this is the Apex form. First thing is going to be, outer box is going to be the skeleton starts with Apex page, and the inner box is the form. Okay, and then, like, you have a several blocks. Like, for example, if you see here, like, let's take an example of contact as an example. This is one contact, right? You see here, like, this is the whole thing is called the Apex page, and these are all called we are going to provide, like, everything is the form, and within the form you have several blocks. This is one block, opportunities another block, cases another block, open activities. These are all like a blocks. So it is separated into like various little pieces, the whole page, and then the form, and then you're going to have the page block. Okay, like apex colon page block, and you can even provide the title, like it gives everything by itself, like you can put help title, id, lang, anything like that. Okay, what happens when you click on the page, you can all the ui things, user interface things, you can write it. Okay, let's make it as a title. The title equal to, like for example, I'm just going to make it like I'm going to edit the contact. Okay, this is the page block, and we know that this is the page form, right? Apex form, sorry, Apex form, and this is the Apex page block. Any question? The outer shell is Apex page. Always when we create a Visualforce page, we will be seeing the Apex page. And the next one is the form, and inside the form we'll be having a several page blocks. I wrote like one page block here. Any questions so far?
No, got it.
Okay.
Now got it clear.
Within the page block, we can have like several sections. Okay, if you see it here within the page block, we can have it section 1, section 2, several sections, whatever you see it here. Whatever you see it here, these are all like several sections. These are all like within the page block, you can have it like several sections. See, this is one section. This is like another sections. You can have like you can have like several sections. Page block section. Okay, so this entire thing is the section, and you can have a page block section. Okay, inside the page block, we said that these are all like individual block, right? Within the block you can have your own section. Okay, and let's see how it's going to display when we have a page block section. I just want to teach you today all the skeleton of the Visualforce page. Page block section. Oh. Page block section. Okay, you can specify the section. For example, when, as I said before, this is the section, right? This is the section. Okay, this entire thing is the section within this page block. And how many columns you want to specify? Say for example, I want to specify this in the 2 columns. This is one column, and this is again another column. You can even specify how many columns you want in the page section. Say for example, I want page section, and then you can even specify column equal to 1. Okay, so you have the Apex page, and you have the outer shell is the Apex page, and next you have the Apex form. Within the form you have the page block, and you have several section, which is the page block section. Okay, and then for example, if I just save this, let's see, like you can even preview and see how is it going to look like, how your Visualforce page is going to look like. See here, I just wrote, I developed the whole page, and then said we are using the controller as contract. That's why it is just selected. And then I just wrote like one of the page block as edit contact, and then I'm writing the section here, developing the section here. Okay, so here this is the edit contact. Since we chose the contact standard controller, the tab is highlighted, and this is empty. Let's see what we can write it here. Okay, like for example, you want to write some input field. You could do that, Apex colon input field. Input. You can use Apex colon input field, and then you can say like what is the value that you want. Like I want to say like value equal to like, I'll explain you like what is this contact dot whatever the field name, first name. So if you see here, this is just the standard controller of contact. Okay, this is called the object dot field name. We know what is the object, right? we have whatever we know what is object and what is the field name. You have several field names, like contact can have like first name, last name, email, and all those things, right? So you can have, so the what is this semicolon? The semicolon is nothing but the value provider for this. I will explain you in detail, like, why do we need to have this semicolon. Okay, so for now, any dynamic value in the visual force that needs to be represented by the exclamation, not the semicolon, sorry, exclamation. You need to have the exclamation to present any field value. Okay, you need to have any field value. In order to have the any field value, you need to have the exclamation mark. Okay, so let me save it here. Okay, when you just preview it, we already have it open, we already kept it open. See here, the form is getting developed, the form is growing. Do you see it now? Like, it gives the nice one column layout, and you have your, so the one cool thing about the Salesforce is you don't have to specify any column, sorry, any label here. All of these things are coming from the field. So when I'm saying field, you go to the setup, and then we're looking about the contacts, right? We're looking about the contacts, or even like, you can go to the setup and click on the object manager. You can even go and click on the object manager, or like, you have to go, or you can even switch to the lightning. So when you go to the setup, so when you click on the object manager, like we're talking about the contact object. So if you see the interesting feature, the fields and relationships, I'm saying that contact dot first name, right? So whenever you're saying like, okay, so whenever you're saying the name, it's getting it from the data type called the name. Okay, like for example, you have one of the thing called field name, field label. Okay, so let me put one thing called owner ID, something like that. Okay, owner ID, or I can put like birth date or clean status, something like that. I'll just go and put like, yeah, clean status, saving it. Okay, when I just do the preview, see here, the clean status came automatically. When I previewed, the clean status came automatically with all the values. You are not populating anything, since because your Visual Force page is connected to the controller. Your controller is the one which brings everything, because when your controller talks to your database, underlying database, it knows that, okay, so you're not even telling the clean status here. Like, you are just telling, hey, give me the field with a clean status. Setup, object manager, contact, the fields and relationships, right? For example, you just randomly pick the clean status. See here, this is the pick list. In the UI, you are not telling anything. Is it a pick list, or what are the values does it has? When you click on the pick list, like, what are the value it has? Do you write anything in the Visual Force? No, you are not writing anything in the Visual Force. So if you see it here, everything is automatically picked up from the object. At the object level, everything is picked up automatically from the object. Like, whatever the object dot field, see, it is even bringing the clean status. It is even bringing the field label as a clean space status. If you see it here, see here, clean space status. But whereas in your Visual Force code, you are not writing anything at all. You're not putting anything like label or anything. All you are saying is, hey, give my input field is clean dot status. See, the previously I wrote the name. The name is the text field. That's why the name came as a text field. Now I just updated to the clean status. And since the clean status is pick list, it is giving us the drop down, right? I'm not changing anything like give me or construct like, drop down list, put your values in this list. I'm not doing anything. All we need is object dot field name. Does it make sense? That is why I switched, if you see it, I switched from the plain text field to the drop down. The reason I want to show you the difference of why I want to show you the concept of like just object dot field name will bring in everything for you in the Visual Force. Does it make sense?
Yes, Karthik.
Yes, Karthik.
Okay, cool. So we'll be writing more code to see like, what are the fields that is available, what are the components that is available, and when you can even put your own button, you can even create your own button and see like, when you click on the button, you can push the data to the database. You can, using your custom controller or using the standard controller, you can do whatever you want. So basically you are constructing the page here. That's all you are doing. Like you can specify column 1, column 2, you can even put your button and all those things. Okay, so say for example, I'm just going to create like a couple of values here. I'm just going to create like a couple of values here, the input button, input values. Okay, for example, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. I'm just copying pasting. Okay, to put more fields. That's all I'm doing. All right. So if you see here, like I can even put like first name, last name, contact has an email. They also have the birth date, right? Birth date, and also clean status. Let's leave it as clean status. I'm just saving it. You see the beauty now. I have a couple of text fields. I have the email, and I have the birth date, and I have the clean status. So I want to give you the combination of everything. How the Visual Force page can be developed. The page can be connected to the standard controller. Whenever the skeleton is created, it is created with Apex page, and then you have the form. Inside the form, you have the page block, and within the page block, you have the page block section. And in the section, you can specify how many columns you want, and you have it. You can have like multiple page blocks inside the form. The form is all going to be inside the page. The page is the total outer shell. The form is the little bit inner shell. And then you have the page block and the page block section. As simple as that. Okay. Now, if I go on, you don't even need to click on the preview. Like, if you just automatically, when you change it, it will change automatically as soon as I put. You see here, the beauty is last name is mandatory. It puts the mandatory red mark by itself. And the birth date, when I click on it, the beautiful calendar will show up. It gives the date. Okay, so today's date is on 5. Okay, when I click on it, beautiful calendar will show up. Okay, it will give the today's date, and then you can click on it for today's date, or when you click on the value, it is going to give you the beautiful calendar. Did you write any piece of code to specify this calendar or anything? No, right?
No. Yes.
It's all coming basically from the object.field name. But whereas when you created an object, you said this field name is of type date. That is why it's understanding itself, and the controller is understanding. Oh, okay, this guy is trying to display the birth date. Okay, let me go and check the database. Oh, the birth date is of type date, so we have to put this field date, and then we have to present the UI for the calendar. Okay, the clean status is the pick list, so I display the drop down and then display all the values that's available that I put together when I created an object field or when I created an object, right? And then this is the email and the last name. The last name is the mandatory, so I just need to add one more red color flag saying that this is a mandatory field. Okay. So Barrick is able to follow me and see the power of how the Visualforce page can be built. It's all based on the controller, and it connects to the database, and it defines what type of field you want to display and what are the rules that need to be defined. Any questions so far?
No, Karthik.
Okay. So basically, like, as a overall, overall, it's like, it's just a markup language. Okay. HTML is a markup language, right? Basically, what is markup? Like, you want to present the UI. That's what the markup language is, where you specify the field, like you want to put some of your styles, you can change your color, you can insert your image, you can do whatever the things that you want. So basically, the Visualforce is nothing but a markup language, and it connects the Visualforce standard controller as part of the Visualforce framework. The framework itself has the standard controller or any controller that you have, and that will get connected. Okay. The beautiful thing is it has automatic data access. Okay, it's accessing the data from the database. You're not doing anything at all. Okay. So, so even the input field is smart. How it presents the value. It really presents the value based on the object field that you have. Right? That's why I showed the difference.
Karthik, I have a question, Karthik.
Go
So,
ahead.
A value is value should be value can be anything, right? In this,
no, the value could be okay. Whenever you want to enter, you can put anything. Like, for example.
Okay. Yes.
I'm just previewing. Okay, you can put anything, but
okay.
In case you are writing the layout and you are passing one ID, like for example, I'm just passing one ID equal to blah blah blah. This ID is the contact ID.
Okay.
Which has Srinath or Jatin information, and those information will display here.
Okay.
So the value is nothing but it's the input field with the value from where? From your object, right? From your record.
Yeah.
With that particular field, that's what we are having.
Okay.
But when there is no such ID that is available, the system is smart enough to know that, okay, I couldn't find this ID, so it's going to display the blank. I'll show you with the value, without the value. This is without the value.
Yes.
Jatin, is it clear?
Yes, clear.
Clear.
Okay, I will also show you with the ID so that it brings the data by itself. So you can even see you can even have this page layout assigned to the contact. Whenever somebody is creating the contact, you can have your own page. You don't have to go by default layout. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The main purpose of it. You can put all your logic here. You can even define your layout. You don't have to have such a big form to have it. You can even create only small form that is needed, and then you can just define it. Okay.
Yes, Karthik. Clear.
Say for example, you can even create a save button here to the form.
Yeah. Yes. That's what that's what is running in my brain. I wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So say for example, I want to create a button here, save. When somebody enters the data and clicks save, it has to save the data to the database. Let's see.
So we can automatically change the contact, like not exactly going where the contact is and searching, but actually doing this and editing the contact, right? We can do it as simple as that, right?
Correct. But this is like defining your own Visualforce presentation layer, or you're having your own page layout, giving to the customer.
Yes, Karthik.
And when you give the save button, you can assign this to the you can assign this to the contact and say that whenever somebody is creating the edit contact, this should appear, this page should appear, and then they can click on save, and then they can update it, or they can create a new contact. When somebody is creating a contact, you can have this page to appear instead of the this is your customized page instead of the standard ones. The standard one might be having a lot of stuff which you don't want to display, right? Let's say, for example, here you want to display, you want to have some validation rules, custom validation rules, or here have to show some chart, or you want to show your own fields, or for example, here you are displaying some information related to your own company, your company database to the users. You can do that on all that you can do it here. But whereas in the standard page that is coming out of box, you won't be able to do all this. That is why the Visual Force pages has the ability to customize.
Yes. Yes, Karthik.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you guys able to follow me?
Yes, Karthik. Clear.
Okay. Now let's see, this is just the simple form fields that we created, right? Let's see like how we can put like a save button and then, try to save some record. So that will be today's exercise. Okay. So let's see how we can do that. Okay. So, all right. So let's put it in the different page block. Okay. This is the page block section. And inside the page block itself, we can put like, okay, so apex colon page block, maybe like, I can even put like page block button. I'm just going to define the button. And then say that like everything is a markup language which has all this. These are the pre-built component. You can even define your own component. All of these things are component. If you see it here, all of these things that we're talking about are the component, Visual Force component. But those are all defined by Salesforce itself. If you want to develop your own component, that we'll be going to the next class, like Visual Force component, you can create your own component.
Okay, we can create we can modify it also.
Yeah, you can create your own component, and then that component you can place it in your page.
Yeah, and then it automatically pops up whenever you're trying to use it, right?
Whenever you're using to use your component. So these are all the component that you're using that is available as part of the out of box within the Salesforce.
Yes, Karthik. So these are all default, like if
these are the these are the one that is available by default.
Yes, Karthik.
You can even create your own custom component where you can plug in into your Salesforce in your Visual Force page. Okay, these are everything is the component. These are the out of box components. So we are talking about more components now. Like we did about like Apex page, Apex form, Apex page block, Apex page block section. These are the input fields. And then page block buttons. And we are talking about another component called Apex colon command button. It's called command button. And where you can say, this button can say like what is the action that should perform. You can specify the action as save as an example. And then value equal to save. So anything dynamically that you're passing or any command that you need to provide to the controller always starts with the exclamation mark. Open bracket, that is the variable. Okay, when you're passing a dynamic value to the controller, you can pass the command with the, hey, give me the contact.first name. It has to be the open bracket, close bracket with the exclamation mark. You are telling a command to the controller, hey, this action is save. You have to use the exclamation mark and say that, it's a save. Does it make sense?
Yes, Karthik.
Yes,
Jatin.
Yeah, Karthik.
All right.
I have a question, Karthik. Sure. Like for every action, we do, we have to place the exclamatory mark before the command.
Yes, if it is like save action or anything like, if you're going to any action that you're going to perform, there are like several actions that we'll be talking about.
If it's like refresh, so
refresh, delete, anything you have to press. You have to, those are all, anything with a dynamic comment that you're passing, it has to be passed with the exclamation mark.
Yes, sure, Karthik. Yep, that's all.
Okay. So I'm saving this. And I don't have to click on the preview. Automatically it gets refreshed in your page. See here, the save button came. So this is exactly you're seeing it here, right? Edit, delete, clone, save,
Yes.
or anything like that,
Yes.
right? That's
Yes.
exactly you're seeing it here. You are defining your own, you are creating your own button. Just say as an example, I'm just creating the first name as BF name, Visual Force, last name, email is test@test.com, the birth date is, and the clean status is reviewed, as an example. Just clicking on save. Okay, you see here the data got created.
Yes. Yes,
You
Karthik.
created with your email, and this is the first name, this is the last name you gave, and you can even see your details, like what are the things that got created. But basically you did not use your contact create new contact. You did not use this form.
Yeah. Yes, Karthik.
This is
Did
the out of
everything
box
over
form.
there writing
You
my
see here,
code.
this is the out of box form which has this is the out of box form. But instead you created your own form and you contacted your controllers, and that got created. Your controller is using the action, and then you're touching the controller is going by default, it gets the data access to the database, and then it's saving it. Do you guys understand the concept of what is Visual Force? What is the presentation layer? How the page can be created? Outer page, form, page block section, and then button or whatever you want to have. You can have it as 2 column, 1 column, or anything, and then you can provide the action to the form. Any questions so far? Is it all
No,
clear?
I'm clear. Yes.
Clear, Karthik.
Okay, good. So Jitin, in your project, have you created any Visual Force pages, or this is the first time that you're seeing?
Yeah, I have created one. Whenever I create a Visual Force page,
Second?
whenever I used to create a Visual Force page, they used to call me a musician.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I created a Visual Force page for a search button like global search
Uh-huh.
using a field name
Okay.
SSN,
Okay.
which is common for
But
all the fields.
okay,
Yeah.
so this is the concept that you have been using it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So,
But that is like a separate page, it will pop up a separate page for that.
yeah, this is the same thing. Whatever we have used here, this is just whatever we developed. It's again, it's like a separate page, but it has a lot of. I mean, you may be having like a lot of components. Yeah, if you see here, this is a separate page, completely a different separate page.
He just connected this kind of page as a button into the contacts,
Mm-hmm.
so that whenever they push that button,
Mm-hmm.
they will get this kind of page, and
Yes,
it will
you
show.
can even you can even open this button by creating a little button in your default contact template, right?
Yeah.
And then when we click on it, you can bring it to your pop-up, or you can bring it in a new page, anything that you want. But it's going to have the list of fields or anything. You can perform any operation, any crude operation here.
It all depends upon the requirements.
Yeah. Yes. But the concept is you have to use your controller, and you have to use your Apex components, or you can create your own component and you can use it, and it connects to the database. So that's the whole idea and the whole concept. Okay, so like for example, I mean, what are the places where we can use the Visual Force? I mean, you can use the Visual Force pages like across many places to extend it. Even if you have your even in your app launcher, you can use the Visual Force pages, and then you can use the Visual Force pages to develop your own individual apps that's been developed. Okay, or you can even create your own custom buttons, you can create your own page layouts, you can even create your own edit layouts, and all those things. The most important thing, you can even plug in your Visual Force components, right? The components that whatever you write, Visual Force components, you can use it in the Lightning. You can even use it in the Lightning. I'll be talking about it, how you can reuse your Visual Force components. Because when you say Visual Force components, you might have a question. Hey, Karthik, okay, we are writing all the Visual Force components and everything. What will happen to all this when you're switching to the Lightning? All these are gone? No. You can reuse all those components into the Lightning. You can plug in into the component This is the lightning component, right? You can plug in your Visualforce component into the lightning component. So because all these companies, they have been using the Visualforce, Salesforce, using the Visualforce page, they have been using it for years and years. It cannot be gone when the lightning comes. They can still reuse all those components into your component, the lightning component. So there is a integration of the Visualforce and the lightning. Does it make sense?
Yes, Karthik. So the interface is different or the same, Karthik? Similar.
The interface is completely different. This is the
Okay.
lightning. This is the lightning is completely lightning
Yes.
framework,
Yes,
where you
Karthik.
can plug in your Visualforce component here.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
Got
the
it.
requirements are coming to convert classic to lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen some requirements like
Right. So the reason why I'm also taking the Visualforce is like, now not that everybody has switched to the lightning. People are still in, they're like
Yeah.
still in Visualforce and they're trying to migrate to the lightning. So when there is such kind of migration, you also need to know the Visualforce. Only then you'll be able to know the logic. Like if somebody is giving you the code of the Visualforce, now you know like, oh, okay, this is the form and this is calling the controller and this is the form and this is the input field you have and this is the page block sections and this is what it does and they're using the contact object and this is the controller. You'll be able to connect the dots and what is the button they have on all these things, right?
Yep.
Any questions so far?
No, Karthik. For me, I'm clear.
Okay. So like now we know like how to create the Visualforce pages and all these things, and in the next class I'll be taking like how you can navigate with the ID and how you can since you guys are familiar with all those things, I did not previously. Usually I take like hello world of this Visualforce and then print it and say that hey, this is the page that we can display, like all these things. I did not go from there because now you know what is object, what is controller, what is, now you become the familiarized developer, right? We don't want to spend time on just creating the hello world. Even you can put like h1 tag with hello world.
Yeah.
As I said, the HTML markup, right? See here, the hello world came here.
Oh, yes.
So you can write like all your HTML things and you can put marquee, you can center it, you can bold it, you can italic, you can do all these things, underline it and all those things you can do. It's just basically, I just want to tell you, to give you the example of you can render the same HTML. That's where I will start, like, start with the HTML, put some HTML tags and tell you that, hey, this is how the page is going to work. And then, so I know that you guys are smart enough to understand the object level, the field level, and then how it can be connected and all those things. So this is additional tip, like I gave, like you can even do all the kind of CSS and everything. Okay. All right. So in the next class we'll be talking about like what are the how we can have your own how we can have the, this is the page structure. Now you yourself know that what is the page structure. It starts with the skeleton of page block section and all those things. Okay. So we'll be talking about like how we can declare the variable whenever, how can we pass the dynamic values to the component, and how we can create our own custom components, and how to display the records. Okay, because now we are just injected the record. Like now we know what is the standard controller. We can use the standard controller in the Visualforce page. How we can use the custom controller. Okay, how we can create a custom controllers and use it in the custom component. So those things we will be seeing it. Okay.
Okay.
Was it useful?
Yes, Karthik. Completely.
Okay, cool. Jatin, were you able to follow me?
Yes, Karthik.
Okay, cool. So let's meet in the next class. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Karthik.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, bye. I hope you guys the recordings. I will share it with you at least today or like at the earliest tomorrow morning. Okay, all these recordings.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sure.
Bye.
Thanks.